That viral buddy heater hacks video is everywhere. But most people don't actually need hacks. They need to stop making a few mistakes that cause weird smells, soot, or sudden shutoffs. In the next few minutes, I'll show you 7 buddy heater mistakes I see all the time, and the safe, simple fixes that keep it running cleaner and more reliable. Number 1. No ventilation and no CO alarm. When a buddy heater shuts off on its own, it's often reacting to the air in the room. These portable radiant propane heaters usually have an oxygen depletion sensor, often called an ODS. It watches the pilot flame and helps the heater decide whether combustion is happening safely. If oxygen drops too low, or if the pilot flame isn't behaving the way it should, the heater shuts down. That's not the heater being too sensitive. That's the safety system doing its job. The mistake is trying to run it in a sealed room, a very small space, or a super tight area with zero fresh air, especially during outages when people block drafts and keep everything closed. Indoor safe doesn't mean no airflow. It means the heater has built-in safety features and it expects common sense ventilation. Safe fix: run a carbon monoxide alarm every time you use any unvented propane heater and keep a small, steady source of fresh air. You don't need a big draft blowing on the heater. You just need gentle air exchange, so oxygen isn't slowly getting used up, and combustion stays clean. If you're setting up a warm room during a blackout, pick a bigger room, keep the doorway clear, and crack a window slightly, rather than sealing the space like a box. Place the CO alarm the way its instructions say. Don't stick it right next to the heater, and don't hide it behind furniture. Test it, keep fresh batteries, and treat it like critical gear, not an accessory. A CO alarm helps with carbon monoxide risk, but it doesn't magically make a bad setup safe, so ventilation still matters. Also, don't ignore altitude. At higher elevations, there's less oxygen in the air to begin with, so some heaters may shut off sooner. If you live in a mountain area, and the heater runs for a while then shuts down, it may be the ODS doing its job earlier, not a random failure. Another thing people notice in tight spaces is moisture. Unvented propane heat adds water vapor to the air, which can mean condensation on windows and a damp feeling. That's another reason gentle ventilation helps. It's not just about comfort. Moisture plus dust can also make the heater dirtier over time. For emergency preparedness, build habits that scale. CO alarm working, smoke alarm working, and a plan for ventilation that still keeps you warm. If you ever feel dizzy, get a headache, feel nauseous, or notice unusual fatigue while a fuel-burning heater is running, treat that as a serious warning. Turn the heater off, get fresh air immediately, and don't keep using it until you've made the situation safe. And unless your specific manual clearly permits it, don't run a propane heater in a sleeping area or while you're asleep. Number 2, rushing the startup and letting the safety sensor stay cold. If your heater lights and then shuts off quickly, the problem is often the lighting sequence. On many buddy heater models, you have to hold the control knob down in the pilot position long enough for the safety sensor to warm up. People light the pilot, see flame, and release too soon. The sensor cools. The heater thinks the flame went out, and it shuts the gas off. It feels like the heater won't stay lit, but really, it was never fully warmed. Safe fix: follow the manual's lighting steps exactly. Hold the knob down for the recommended number of seconds after the pilot is lit, then release slowly. If it shuts off, wait a moment and try again the right way. Avoid rapid-fire attempts back-to-back, because that can leave unburned gas in the area. If the heater doesn't light, don't keep clicking and clicking. Turn it off and wait the amount of time your manual recommends before trying again. When you move from pilot to a heat setting, do it smoothly and pay attention to the pilot flame. If the pilot stays steady and the burner lights cleanly, you're good. If it sputters or drops out, stop and troubleshoot instead of forcing it. If the built-in igniter isn't sparking well, you can end up with an unstable pilot that keeps dying. The safe move is to troubleshoot the igniter using the manual. Check for a visible spark where it's supposed to jump, and keep the area clean and dry. Don't bend parts around to make it spark, and don't spray anything flammable near the pilot. If the pilot lights but won't stay lit, even when you hold the knob down long enough, that's the point where you stop forcing it and move on to inspection and cleaning, because the issue may be airflow, dirt, or a worn safety component. From a prepping angle, this is basic skills training. Practice the startup before you need it. In an emergency, cold hands and stress make mistakes more likely. If everyone in the household who might use the heater knows the correct start sequence, you reduce shutoffs and you reduce the temptation to try unsafe fixes. Number 3, unstable placement, wrong clearance, and direct airflow hitting the flame. Portable heaters are picky about 2 things: stability and space. The mistake is setting the heater on soft carpet where it rocks, placing it on a wobbly surface, or putting it where it can get bumped. Many models include a tip-over switch, and it doesn't always take a dramatic fall to trigger it. A small tilt or repeated movement can be enough to shut it down. Safe fix: put it on a hard, flat, stable surface and keep the area around it boring. No clutter, no foot traffic, no pets brushing past it, no cords to trip over. If you want extra stability, use a non-combustible, heat-resistant base, only if it's rated for that kind of heat and doesn't block the heater's air intake. Don't invent a platform out of random materials. Clearance matters just as much. These heaters throw serious radiant heat. If you crowd it against furniture, plastic containers, paper goods, bedding, curtains, or anything that can melt or scorch, you're creating a fire risk, and you're more likely to get weird performance. Heat can reflect back, airflow patterns change, and sensors are more likely to trip. Follow the manual's clearance guidance even if it feels conservative. Now add airflow. Ventilation is good, but a direct blast of air across the front of the heater is not. A fan pointed at it, an HVAC vent, a door opening to strong winter wind, or a cracked window acting like a wind tunnel can disturb the pilot flame. The goal is gentle air exchange in the room, not wind aimed at the burner area. If the pilot flame is getting pushed around, the heater can shut down even when everything else looks fine. If you need circulation, aim airflow across the room instead of at the heater. Keep it stable, keep it spaced, and keep the flame area out of direct blasts. Number 4, blocking intake and treating the heater like a multi-purpose tool. A buddy heater needs a clear path for air to come in, mix, burn, and exit. The mistake is treating it like a warm shelf, leaning items against it, placing it in a tight corner surrounded by stuff, or setting objects close enough to restrict the intake. Even if nothing catches fire, blocked airflow can make the flame unstable and trigger shutdowns. Safe fix: keep the front, sides, and top clear. Don't cover the heater, don't place anything on it, and don't shove it into a corner to get it out of the way. If you're trying to dry clothing or gear during an outage, the safer approach is to warm the space and let the warm air do the drying at a distance. Don't aim intense radiant heat at items that can melt, scorch, or shed fibers into the heater. Another common misuse is trying to treat the heater like a stove or a cooking surface. These units are designed for space heating, not cooking. Putting cookware near the face of the heater or trying to heat liquids in ways the manual doesn't approve can block airflow and can create extra soot. If your emergency plan needs cooking, plan a separate cooking solution and keep it in its own safe area. Also be careful with aftermarket add-ons. Anything that clips on, reflects heat, or redirects airflow can change how the heater burns. If it isn't manufacturer approved for your model, skip it. You want predictable performance in an emergency, not a setup that only works most of the time. Number 5, a dirty heater. Lint, dust, and clogged pilot, pulch. ODS areas. Dust is one of the biggest reasons a buddy heater will run for a few minutes and then shut off. Over time, these heaters collect pet hair, carpet lint, sawdust, and storage dust. That buildup can mess with the pilot flame, the ODS, and the burner. If the pilot flame is weak, flickering, or partially blocked, it may not heat the safety sensor correctly, so the heater shuts down, even though you still see a flame. You'll often get hints before it becomes constant. More odor than usual, harder lighting, a pilot flame that looks tiny, uneven glow on the ceramic surface, or light soot where there should be none. A clean burning heater should not be leaving heavy black soot. Safe fix: do basic maintenance safely and gently. Turn the heater off, let it cool completely, disconnect the propane, and clean it only in ways the manual supports. A soft brush and low-pressure compressed air can remove lint around the intake and pilot area. Don't stick needles, wires, or drill bits into small openings. Don't improve the flame by enlarging holes. Don't spray cleaners or solvents into the heater. If something looks damaged, cracked ceramic, warped metal, loose wiring, a bent pilot assembly, or corrosion where it shouldn't be, stop and replace parts only with manufacturer-approved components, or have the heater inspected by someone qualified. This is not the place for random replacement parts. A common issue with gas appliances is insects or spider webs in small air passages after long storage. It's not dramatic, but it's real. For beginner preppers, the prevention is simple. Store the heater covered, keep it off dusty floors, don't store it with a cylinder attached, and do a short test run periodically so you're not discovering problems in the middle of an outage. Number 6. Propane delivery problems. Low fuel, cold weather, and restricted flow valves. The heater can only run as well as the propane supply feeding it. The mistake is assuming every cylinder will deliver fuel the same way in every condition. A 1-pound bottle that's nearly empty can struggle to keep pressure stable. A cylinder that's extremely cold can lose pressure quickly as it tries to vaporize propane. Even a valve that isn't fully open can limit flow. Safe fix. Start simple. Try a fresh, known good cylinder and see if the problem disappears. If you're using a larger cylinder with an approved hose, confirm the tank isn't close to empty and that it stays upright and stable. If your setup uses a valve, open it fully. If you connect a 1-pound bottle directly to the heater, thread it on straight and snug by hand. Cross-threading or a poor seal can create problems, and it can create a leak risk. Cold weather is where a lot of shutdown complaints show up. Propane pressure drops as the cylinder gets colder, so you can see a weaker flame, and shutdowns when you're trying to run the heater hard. The unsafe move is trying to warm the tank with a flame, placing it against a heater, or doing any DIY tank heating. Don't do that. Propane safety is not the place for experiments. The safe move is planning capacity. If you expect winter outages, don't rely on a tiny bottle at maximum output for long stretches. Have enough fuel stored properly, and consider that larger cylinders generally handle sustained demand better than small ones. If you notice frost on the outside of the cylinder during heavy use, that's a sign the tank is working hard to supply vapor. The safest response is to reduce demand, switch to a properly stored spare, or improve your overall insulation and heat plan. One more thing that's easy to miss. Many propane cylinder valves have an excess flow safety device. If you open the tank valve too fast or connect things in a way that causes a sudden rush of gas, the valve can restrict flow. The heater may light but run weak and then shut off. The safe fix is to shut everything off, wait a moment, then open the cylinder valve slowly and steadily. A useful clue is settings. If the heater seems fine on low but shuts off on high, treat that as a fuel supply or ventilation hint, not as a reason to start changing parts. Number 7. Pressure mismatch, random adapters, and ignoring red flags. This is the mistake that causes shutdowns and also creates the biggest safety risk. People see mods and hacks online, then stack adapters, mix hoses, or feed the heater from a source it wasn't designed for. The result is often low pressure, unstable flame, soot, and repeated shutoffs. In the worst case, it becomes a leak hazard. Safe fix. Only use hoses, regulators, filters, and fittings that are rated and recommended for your exact heater model and your exact fuel source. Don't run a high-pressure heater from a low-pressure RV quick connect unless the manufacturer specifically says it's compatible. Don't add extra regulators just in case. Don't chase a stronger flame by changing parts that control fuel and air. If your setup requires accessories, buy the ones made for that purpose and keep the system simple. A common shutdown pattern happens when people connect a buddy-style heater to a larger tank with a hose, and the heater starts acting up after some use. Some manufacturers recommend an inline fuel filter for certain hose setups because some hoses can introduce oily residue that eventually affects the regulator. The safe rule is straightforward. If your manual recommends a filter, use it. If your manual doesn't support a configuration, Don't try to force it with extra fittings. Now the red flags. A little new heater smell can happen on first use, but persistent strong odor, visible soot, popping sounds, or a flame that looks abnormal are not normal. Repeated shutdowns are not something to ignore. If the heater keeps shutting down after you've corrected ventilation, placement, cleaning, and fuel supply, stop restarting it. Let it cool, disconnect the propane, and use the manual's troubleshooting steps. If you can't solve it safely, have it inspected by someone qualified or replace it. Treat gas smell like an emergency signal, not an annoyance. Never use a flame to check for leaks. Use a manufacturer-recommended leak check method, and don't keep using the heater until you're confident the entire fuel path is sealed and safe. Also, inspect hoses and connections for wear. If a hose is cracked, stiff, or damaged, replace it with the correct rated part rather than trying to seal it. For preparedness, keep your system simple, keep the manual with the heater, and keep a small support kit. Spare CO alarm batteries, a soft cleaning brush, and only the manufacturer-approved hose or filter your setup actually uses. Shutdowns are information that something needs to be corrected, not a reason to start experimenting.